Here we are again, another week of Market Weekly, where we break down some of the biggest moves, the biggest money moves, and some of the top stories around the financial landscape from Nigeria across the globe and also across the globe. This is Market Weekly, brought to you by Nairametrics Television. My name is Frank Fagbo. Let's start with some of the top stories making the round. We're seeing what is happening with the Naira. The Naira experiencing some fall in the parallel market, continuous fall as a matter of fact. And then United Capital's 178% return to shareholders. What is really behind this return? You're going to find out about that as we go into the show. We're also going to be taking a look at what is happening with CBN. CBN's OMO action. We're going to take a look at that. The OMO bills out, oversubscribed as a matter of fact. And then we're taking a look at Dangote's group 402 billion tax payments. 402 billion tax payment. That's some huge chunk if you ask me. Daily insight into the NGX from Monday down to Friday. All of this is what we're going to feed you on this episode of Market Weekly. So sit back, relax, and let's go into what we have for today. Let's start with some of the local stories. The Naira's losing streak continues. We're seeing that the Naira weakened again in the unofficial market, trading at around 1,680 Naira to the dollar. The pressure on the local currency continues despite the CBN's intervention and the recent monetary policies that we're seeing across the Nigerian economy. And why is this happening? Speculative trading is one of the major reasons. A lot of traders are betting on future depreciation. And then we're seeing the forex supplies issues. Dollar inflows remains tight, making FX scarcity a persistent issue. And that's what we've been seeing in the last 2 weeks. And that's why we're seeing the Naira on a continuous fall. We're also seeing that rising inflation is a major reason for this, because as inflation surges, investors hedge their bets by moving towards the safer assets, increasing demand for the dollar. Let's move on to what is happening in our capital market as well. United Capital, 178% return on investment for a lot of shareholders. How did United Capital pull this off? If you invested in United Capital last year, you would be smiling to the bank as we speak, because a lot of the shareholders enjoyed an impressive 178% return on investment in 2024. How did they do this? The firm really capitalized on investors' appetite for what we call wealth management, because that's what a lot of investors were really interested in in the year 2024. We're also seeing that one of the major reasons for this is the booming investment banking business. And you know that even in general, the banking sector did amazing numbers in 2024. And right now we're seeing that even some of the sub-sectors under the banking sector also performed greatly. UCAP played a key role in corporate finance and capital raises for a lot of the big companies. Cost efficiency strategies, one also that is the one other reason why we saw them do decent numbers. The solid expense management systems helped them improve their margins. As we're looking ahead, can they sustain this momentum going into 2025? We're going to keep you abreast as to how all of this will unfold in 2025. Knowing you fully well that we're still in the first quarter of 2025. We have a long way to go. We've not got into the second quarter. And so the runway is still very, very long. Let's move on to some other stories. OMO auction sees 1.8 trillion Naira as regards subscription. How did this happen? The CBN's latest OMO auction was a big hit, with investors oversubscribing by nothing less than 4 times its offer. Now, CBN offered 500 billion Naira, and it was oversubscribed to the tune of 1.8 trillion Naira. A lot of investors took advantage of what is happening in the money market, fixed income assets, and then we're seeing that the stop rate dropped to 19.5%, reflecting investors' confidence in Nigeria's debt market. What is behind this trend? Remember that the high inflation rate, investors are looking for ways to protect their capitals in high inflationary economy. And then one of the major reasons is we're seeing attractive yields, because you can see such attractive yield and not want to take advantage of it. And that's what you're seeing. And that's what you're seeing a lot of investors taking advantage of what is happening in our debt markets. Liquidity concern is one with rising forex. With rising forex and also inflation pressures, investors see the OMO instrument as safer havens for their hard-earned money. Let's move on to some other stories. Dangote Group is paying 402 billion naira in taxes. Now, the Dangote Group remains the biggest corporate taxpayer in Nigeria, paying a massive 402 billion naira in 2024. Why is this really significant? It shows the impact of the large-scale manufacturing and industrial expansion on government revenue. With the Dangote refinery ramping up operations, even higher tax contributions are expected in 2025, because we're just in this first quarter of 2025, and based on their numbers, we're expecting to see some higher tax revenue as regards that. The payment reinforces Dangote's dominance across cement, sugar, and refining. What does this mean for Nigeria? It is a lot of boosts. There's a lot of boosts for government revenue. And then we're seeing that it encourages corporate tax compliance. And that's one thing that has been on the front burner of discourse as regards the federal government. Remember what is happening with our tax bill. A lot of conversations around that. And right now we're seeing one of the biggest taxpayers in Nigeria paying 402 billion naira as regards taxes. That's some decent sum, if you ask me. Let's move on to what is happening in the global market. The price of oil has seen a sharp weekly decline in the market. Oil prices experienced a significant drop this week, making it one of the steepest weekly decline in months. Brent crude fell below $70 per barrel, while the Western Texas Intermediate crude dropped to approximately $66 per barrel. What's really behind this drop? Concerns over the global demand is one major reasons why we're experiencing decline. Also, we're seeing that the OPEC plus supply adjustment, the cartel has been gradually increasing production, leading to worries about the oversupplied market. And you know what happens? Supply and demand. Once we have oversupply of a particular product, it reduces the price, and that's why we're seeing all of this playing out in the market. Stronger U.S. support as well. Stronger U.S. dollar, I beg your pardon. Stronger U.S. dollar as well. A firmer dollar makes oil more expensive for buyers using other currencies, dampening the demand in the market. What is next? Based on this story regarding the OPEC Plus and based on what is happening with the price of oil, a lot of traders will be watching the upcoming OPEC Plus policy decision and the U.S. inventory data to gauge whether oil prices will stabilize or continue downward. Let's move on to some other stories. Major deal announcement. Some major acquisition. If you ask me, up to the tune of $10 billion. Who is in the picture? Walls Green is going private, and in a $10 billion buyout. How did the market react to this news? We're seeing that Walls Green stocks jumped more than 5% after the announcement, though their shares remained down over 50% in the last 1 year. Definitely will keep you abreast as how all of this unfolds. All right, so let's take a look at some of the other stories. We're seeing Donald Trump establishing Bitcoin reserve if you're ahead of crypto summit. The US President Donald Trump has established created a Bitcoin reserve as a part of his broader strategy ahead of the White House crypto summit. Now, this move is a it signals a potential shift in the U.S. crypto regulations, as Trump has previously been critical of digital currency. The government's involvement in crypto is one that has been on the front burner of conversations, especially in the global market, because a lot of conversations around this. and it's bringing about lots of regulations to the crypto space. But then you sure know we keep you abreast as regards some of these stories. Bitcoin prices have remained volatile following the news, with a lot of speculations about potential government-backed adoption or perhaps even stricter regulations. Definitely. How would all of this unfold? We're going to keep our eyes glued on the screen and see how the market reacts to some of all these stories. Global money market fund sees increased inflow. Global money markets fund has seen a surge inflow this week as investors move cash into safer assets in the midst of the economic uncertainties. The stock market volatility is one of the major reasons why all of this is happening. The ongoing concerns over inflation. Remember that geopolitical risk has made the equities market less attractive for a lot of investors in that aspect. And we're seeing high short-term yields. And that's why we're seeing a lot of hot money across different assets, across different asset classes. And that's why we're seeing the fund. That's why we're seeing a lot of increased inflows as regards the global money market fund. Now let's move on to some other stories making the round, especially in the Asian part of the world. Japan is sending its trade minister to Washington, D.C. for a high-level discussion with the U.S. officials on trade and economic policy. Both nations are looking to strengthen cooperation on semiconductor manufacturing and some critical materials. Japan also seeks to ensure fair treatment under U.S. new trade policies, particularly in the auto and electronic sector. A lot of discussions will. So this discussion will definitely cover broader economic ties in the Indo-Pacific region, and as well, both countries look to counter China's growing influence across the globe. There've been a lot of back and forth as regards global trade. Donald Trump issuing tariffs to some countries, and we're seeing that it looks like Japan is trying to save their country and save their economy based on the trade relationship between Japan and the US. Let's see how this would affect the market. Now let's move on to what is happening with our equities market down in Nigeria, the NGX. Let's see how the market played out from Monday to Friday. On Monday, we're seeing the 3rd of March, the all-share index experienced some decline, 0.34% decline in the market to 107,455 points. The market capitalization closed at 67.28 trillion naira. Some of the values traded at 7.23 billion naira. Let's take a look at some of the top gainers and the top losers. The top gainers, Lane Africa among the top gainers, 10.00% gains in the market. And then the NGS group featured amongst the top gainers, 10% gains in the market as well. Champions featured amongst the top gainers, 9.9% gains in the market. And then we'll take a look at the top losers, those at the bottom of the pyramid. Ikeja Hotel featured among the top losers, 9.92% decline in the market. UCAP, 9.91% decline in the market. And then Cotters featured amongst the top losers in the market, 9.84% decline in the market. The 4th of March, the second trading day, which was Tuesday, we saw that the all-share index also experienced some decline in the market. It's some 0.5% decline. 0.51% decline, and then 106,904 points. And then let's take a look at some of the top losers on the final trading day of the week, which is Friday. We're seeing some of the top losers. Ikeja featuring amongst the top losers, 10 Naira, 70 kobo. That's some 9.7% decline in the market. And then Transcore also featuring amongst the top losers, 46 Naira, 90 kobo. And that's some 9.46% decline in the market. FCMB featuring amongst the top losers again, 7 Naira, 9 Naira, 10 kobo. FCMB featuring amongst its top losers, and then 9 Naira 10 Kobo experiencing some 7.61% decline in the market. And that's it on this episode of Markets Weekly. Will the Naira rebound? Because trading at 1,680 Naira to the dollar in the unofficial market, that's one thing I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are not going to be excited about. And then what is going to happen with CBN? Are they going to adjust monetary policy? That is it on this episode of Markets Weekly. I'll see you next week where we have conversations around your money, business, and also what is happening across the financial landscape in the world and in our domestic market here in Nigeria. My name is Frank Fagbo, and this is brought to you by Nairametrics Television.